Good morning, everyone. Stretch your hands a little bit. Both the hands. I hope everyone is doing well today. Please sit down. Now today we are going to continue with the chapter that we have been doing, the chapter 12, the periodic properties, and today our learning targets will be first the electronic configuration, then the group number and period number. Then we are going to learn the properties about metals, non-metals and noble gases. We are going to have practicals on identification of gases and identification of metals, action of sodium hydroxide on the metallic salts. So on the top of your notebook, write today's date, chapter name and the learning outcomes. Note it down, copy the learning outcomes in your notebook. Then we are going to start slowly. So as you all know from grade 9, the atomic number. How can you define the atomic number, or what are the different ways of defining the atomic number? Who will try? Who is going to tell me about atomic numbers? The atomic numbers are the number of protons which is equal to the number of electrons, definitely which is equal to the number of electrons. So if you see a symbol, whenever you see a symbol in the periodic table, you are going to see or you are going to notice two numbers. One number will be on top and the other number will be on down. So the number which is on top has a symbol A and the number which is down has a symbol Z. A always represents the mass number and Z always represents the atomic number. So atomic number is equal to number of protons which is equal to number of electrons, that is Z is equal to P is equal to E, where my Z is number of protons and which is equal to number of electrons as well. Mass number is the number of neutrons plus number of protons together. We call them as number of nucleons. Mass numbers are nothing but number of nucleons, which is the sum total of number of neutrons and proton. So this we can get the number of electrons and protons from the atomic number and the mass number. But what about my number of neutrons? How to get number of neutrons? The way to get number of neutrons is subtraction. You have to subtract the atomic number from the mass number to get number of neutrons. Look here, atomic number is equal to protons which is equal to electrons. Mass number is number of protons and neutrons together. Now what about my number of neutrons? To find number of neutrons, you have to subtract the atomic number from the mass number. So here they have given an example. Suppose X is an element which is having atomic number 9 and mass number 19. Now to get the number of protons is equal to 9, number of electrons also will be equal to 9. What about mass number? Mass number is 19. Now how do they get number of neutrons? They subtract 19 minus 9, that is equal to 10. So you can copy this one, this example only. Copy this example in your notebook. This is, you are going to need this. Now once we know the atomic number and mass number, we can find out the electronic configuration. Now what is electronic configuration? That I will be telling you. Copy this one only you need this one. Only the example. Yes. Now the electronic configuration, the next one, or we sometimes call it electron distribution. It is distribution or segregation. You are separating it. It is distribution or separation of the number of protons or the number of electrons into different orbits in an atom. So I have tried to draw an atom here, and the atom has different shells. Shell 1 has a name called K, shell 2 is L, shell 3 is M. So different shells can be represented as K, L and M. Now electronic configuration is the way by which you distribute number of electrons on different shells of an atom. We use a formula. The formula is 2n square, where n represents number of shells. Now if in place of this n, or when the n is equal to 1, what will be my formula? 2 into 1 square, that is 2. If n is equal to 2, what will be the formula? 2 into 2 square, that is 8. If n is equal to 3, 2 into 3 square, you have 18. And when n is equal to 4, 2 into 4 square, that is 32. So these are the numbers. These numbers are the maximum number of electrons which can be or which can reside in each shell. In K shell, maximum it is 2. In L shell, maximum 8. M shell 18, and N shell is 32. So these numbers are the maximum. It can be less than this, but it should not be more than this. It can be less than this, but it cannot be more than this. Now you tell me, suppose if I take hydrogen as an example. I have an example of hydrogen whose atomic number is 1. So in which cell or in which orbit shall I place the electron, this one electron? In which one? In which shell shall I place? K shell. Helium is 2. Where should I put? K. Lithium is 3. Then in K shell how many you can put? 2. And in L? 1. Then beryllium 4. 2. L2. Suppose boron is 5. 2. 5. Now suppose if I take example like sodium 11. What should I do? 2. Then 8. Then 1. Suppose if I take calcium, it is 20. What should I do? 2, 8, 8, 2. One more I take. Suppose if I take neon, what is the atomic number of neon? Neon 10. So what shall I do? 2, 8. Now when you distribute the number of, that is the number of electrons in different orbits, this is actually your electronic configuration or electron distribution. Now from this electronic configuration we can find out what is the place of the element. That means in which group or in which periods the element lie or exist in the periodic table. Now for knowing that one, we have a rule here. Group number is equal to number of valency electrons and period number is equal to number of shells. Now what is the valency electron? Valency electron is that electron in the orbit which is at the extreme end. The last electron in the orbit, it is the valency electron, the last one. So can you tell me what is going to be the group number of hydrogen? What is going to be the group number of hydrogen if the last shell has 1 electron? The group number is going to be 1. What about my period number? Is number of shells. So how many shells we have? 1. What is going to be for helium? I'll start writing this side. Period 1. Period is helium 1, 2, and group also 2. What about lithium? Lithium period? 1. Period is? 1. Period number is number of shells. 1, 1, 2. Lithium has 2 periods. Second period, and group Group is 1, period is 2. See it nicely. Group number is equal to number of valence electrons, period number is equal to number of shells. What about calcium? Group, period? Group number is 2. Period number is 4. What about neon? Group number 8 and period number 2. So this way you can exactly find it out, the place of the elements in the periodic table. So from electronic configuration, if we find the periodic position, from there you can find whether they are metals, non-metals or noble gases. The rule to find this one is if the valence electron is 1, 2, 3, if it is 1 or 2 or 3, it will be, or if you take it as 4 also, it will be a metal. So if the valence electron is 1, 2, 3, metal. If it is 4, 5, 6, 7, non-metal. If it is 8, it is going to be noble gas. So can you tell me what is neon here? If we have 8, it is a noble gas. What about calcium? It's metal or non-metal? Metal. What about sodium? Metal. What about boron? Is 5, non-metal. And your beryllium is 2, so it is a metal. So this way you can find the whether they are metals or non-metals as well. You can copy this one in your notebook. This instruction, this is the rule which you can use to copy, which we can use to find out whether they are metal or non-metal. This is the rule. If valence electron is 1, 2, 3, they will be metals. If there are 4, 5, 6, 7, they are going to be non-metal. 8 is noble gas. So this way you can find whether they are metals or non-metals. Next, we are going to prepare and identify some of the metals and non-metals. First, we will start with oxygen, the gas that you have very in less quantity these days. So we are going to prepare oxygen today. I need 2 of you, one boy and one girl. You want to come? Okay, come and join here. You come this side. We are going to prepare the oxygen gas. Now to prepare the oxygen gas, you come this side. You stand here. To prepare the oxygen gas, what I am going to use? The chemistry behind the reaction is this one. When you mix MnO2, manganese dioxide in, when you mix MnO2, manganese dioxide in H2O2, that is hydrogen peroxide, we are going to have oxygen, the gas. So I have here hydrogen peroxide with me and also manganese dioxide. Okay, my manganese dioxide is here. So these two are the chemicals that we are going to use to produce oxygen gas. First, what I will do, I will pour little bit of this hydrogen peroxide in both of these containers, or you can call it the flask that I am going to use it. Little bit in this. So this is H2O2, hydrogen peroxide. If you mix manganese oxide, MnO2, if you mix MnO2, this is manganese oxide, MnO2. If you mix in this 1 spoon at a time, you are going to see the gas. How you should put, you know, your face should not be there, your face should be a little bit away, and you can put this one on both of them. Okay, take one spoon each. Keep it there, keep it that one there. Take 1 spoon and put it there. Okay, wait. Okay, now you put it there, yes. See the gas, this white gas that you see, This gas is a gas, you can put little more, yes. This gas is your oxygen, the non-metal O2 diatomic gas. This is the gas that you can inhale, there is no problem with this gas. It's a non-toxic, colorless, odorless gas, and it is the oxygen that you generally know. Okay, you can go back to your seat, that is enough. Let this gas continue for some time. Next, I am going to show you, so my chemistry behind the reaction is this one, H2O2, when you mix with MnO2, you get oxygen. You can copy this one, this experiment is an observation. Next, I am going to show you this two. Sodium bicarbonate mixed with acetic acid, you produce carbon dioxide, and hydrogen peroxide, if you mix with potassium iodide, you get oxygen. This is the famous experiment where we are going to see both oxygen and carbon dioxide together. Okay, leave this one, burn this one. Or shall I keep this one? Wait. One of you can come this side. Pour this one in this, around little bit of this. You pour it in this one. Yeah. That's it. Close it now. Bring it back. Now, around 1 spoon of it, put it in this. This is your hydrogen peroxide we have used. Now we are going to put potassium iodide, put in this. Leave that one, yes. 1 spoon. Okay, let it be. Now leave that one. Okay, that's it. Move it. No problem. Give me that one. See, here we have a gas. In this, the gas in this is oxygen, so it is burning again. But if I put this in this, we have a gas, carbon dioxide. Here in this, it is getting extinguished, the fire. But if I put in oxygen, it will again rekindle. So this is my carbon dioxide, and here we have oxygen. Yes, because oxygen supports combustion. But oxygen, your carbon dioxide, do not support combustion. Keep it for a long time, this gas will rekindle this burning splinter. So here we have oxygen, and here we have the gas, carbon dioxide. It will burn. So what is the chemistry behind this reaction? That you should know. The chemistry behind this reaction is, when you mix acetic acid with sodium bicarbonate, you get carbon dioxide gas, and when you mix potassium iodide with hydrogen peroxide, you get oxygen as the gas. So this is the experiment that we can use simultaneously to identify and recognize which gas is carbon dioxide and which one is oxygen. So that is the chemistry behind the reaction. You can copy this one in your notebook. These three we have done. Next experiment we are going to do, we are going to produce manganese oxide. We are going to produce manganese actually. the metal manganese we are going to produce. And for that, what we need, this is potassium permanganate. It's purple color potassium permanganate we have. This we need to mix this with glycerine, or we call it glycerol. Now when I mix this one, I am not going to use any fire. It is going to burn on its own. We call it the invisible fire. It is called the invisible fire experiment, by which we produce manganese, or MnO2 we can produce. The invisible fire, it needs some time. It's a slow reaction. You are going to see the fire within some minutes. Till that time, I'll just make one more. Who is having that one? Yes. Get me the copper salt. Copper. See you have, any one of you is going to have this copper one. Yes. Yeah, that one. Yes. Now, if you burn this one, right. This is alcohol. I am going to flame the copper by using little bit ethanol, and you can put the fire now. Lit the fire here. See the color. The color of this metal you need to see. Yes. Yes, it's enough. Now you are going to see not a blue but a greenish color flame, a green flame. So a green flame always will tell you about copper. The metal is copper, definitely. So green flame is always related with copper. So this flame will make us prove that this is a copper salt. It takes some time. So my next one we have done with this. It will take some time until we start the reaction. Next we will start with the identification of metals. See, every one of you have in your table 3 samples of tables. 3 samples of salts are there. So take one spoon of this salt in the test tube that is provided to you. Take 1 spoon of the salt in the test tube, in a test tube that is provided with you. Yeah. Yes, one spoon of salt in a test tube, and make a solution around half of the test tube. Take 1 spoon of the salt. Take 1 spoon of the salt and yes, that is also a salt. Take this one. Take 1 spoon of that. Make it a solution. Pour around, I have given you one measuring cylinder, around 5 ml of water in that. pour about 5 ml of water in the solution, in the salt. Okay. First, let us identify what salt you have got. Here you have got the color of the ions. So from here you can make out what salt you have. If the color is blue, it is definitely copper. If it is blue, it will be copper Cu2 plus. If it is green, it will be chromium 3 plus. If it is pink, it will be manganese. If it is green, it will be Fe2 plus. Yellow, Fe3 plus. So from here, first recognize the color of the salt. See the color of the salt and think what you have got, what ion can be present in it.
Is it CR3?
If it is white or colorless, it can be from any one of this. It can be calcium, it can be magnesium, it can be potassium. Now what you do, take the measuring cylinder. Now take the salt in the test tubes. Take the salt in the test tubes. In this you will use some water. Take the salt in test tubes. Take the salt in test tubes. Take 3 test tubes each. Yes. Now in that test tube, once you have taken 1 spoon of salt, around 6 ml of water you should mix with the salt. So if you have taken 1 spoon, I'll show you. Yes, give me that one. Around 6 ml of water, you mix it and shake it so that the salt gets dissolved. Not on that. Take a test tube. Where is the test tube? Put the salt in the test tube. Put the salt in the test tube and add water using this. Yes, take water. Shake it nicely so that you have your salt completely dissolved in it. All the 3 test tubes, shake it nicely so that you have your salt completely dissolved. Don't make the solution in that, make it in the test tube. Throw it down. Okay. Put the salt in the test tube. Yes. Now put water using this measuring cylinder. Make a 3, all the salts. I have given 3 salts each. Make all solutions of all the salts. Yes. Yes, mix it. Put it in another test tube. Yes. Take one more test tube. I have given 3 salts each to everyone. Make a solution of all the 3 salts in separate test tubes. Make it in a separate test tube. There you have 2 more. Make it. Make 3 separate solutions in 3 test tubes. Yes. Make 3 solutions in 3 test tubes. Shake it nicely so that all salts gets completely dissolved. You have 2 more salts are there, make it. Now we are going to identify what kind of metal is that in your solution. Everyone has made 3 each. 3 test tubes, 3 salts. You have only 1, make 2 more. Take test tubes. Make 2 more. Yes. Okay. Don't play now. Okay, everyone has made? Make 3 solutions each. Make it. Just put 1 spoon of that in 1 test tube and pour around 6 ml of water. Yes. Now once you put water in the salt, you have got 1 solution. Can you show me the colors? How many solutions you have got? You have here blue, show me on top. You have blue, this is your orange. There, what color is that? That is little bit green. You have white, this side, white also. That is, shake it nicely, dissolve all the salt in it. You are going to get an orange color. It is, yeah, white, dirty white. Now, we are going to see the change in color. I have made a solution of sodium hydroxide. If you see any change in color, we can identify what kind of metal is present. If it is white, you are going to have calcium. If it is magnesium, then also white. If it is dirty green, the metal will be Fe2+. If it is reddish brown, the metal is going to be Fe3+. If it is pale blue, the metal is going to be Cu2+. If it is gelatinous white, the white will be jelly-like. You are going to see zinc, lead as well. So I have a solution of sodium hydroxide, and this solution mostly you find in all kinds of soap, but I have made a concentrated solution. So if I just add around few drops of it in all the solutions that we have made, you are going to see a change in color. You are going to see a change in color, and with the change in color, you can match with the board what salt you have, what metal you have. Let me put. Yes, shake it now. Once I have mixed this sodium hydroxide in it, shake it. See what change in color you have got. Shake it now. Yes. So who got pale blue? Show it, raise your hand. Who got pale blue? Pale blue color. So pale blue, that is your copper Cu2 plus. Who got green, dirty green? Anyone dirty green? Yes. That is your Fe2 plus. There also you have got one. Who got white? How many white I have? I have one white. Give me that white also. We need to differentiate between all this white. Any more white? Colorless? Okay, colorless, keep it. Now here you have three white. One is chalky white. This would be chalky white. This is milky white. And this one, it should be gelatinous white, but they have mixed excess amount of salt. So the color is not vivid, or the color is not clear. But we can definitely make out this is a chalky white. What is my chalky white? Calcium, Ca2 plus. The chalky white, okay, chalky white is my lead. And what about milky white? Milky white, see the color? This is chalky white. Here I have one more white, that is calcium. So calcium will be your milky white. Chalky white is lead. And I suppose this is your zinc, that is gelatinous white. So by just zinc, so by just mixing sodium hydroxide in all these salts, we can find out what kind of metal is present in all of them. What kind of metal is present in all of them. You can see it once more, then you can mix with your friends and see if you have any change in color. Yes. First check it once, then you can mix with your friends in a group and see what change of color you have got. Mix it. Yes, mix it and see what color you have got once more. Give me that one. Ammonium dichromate. Yes. Mix it and see. Yes. See the color, change in color if you have mixed it. Okay, we'll just 1 minute, within 1 minute. So everyone has got the class, the salts, the metals identified. Mix it fast. See how many colors you have got. Now this is going to be my exit card. I want you to fill this exit card and give it back to me. Exit card. This is the card by which if you fill it you can go out. We will end this class. Fill this card. See the change in color and match with the board. Yes, wait. First you fill this card, exit card, then we can match it. Fill this one. Take one more. Give it to them. Yes. Fill the exit card, and I'm going to show you at the end one mini volcano. This mini volcano I'm going to show you. Who is going to come? Come this out. Wait, let it burn. Wait, no. Hold on. Hold on. That's it. Just fill it. There are two portions. One is what I can recall. In what I can recall, you can write what you already knew about this topic, and in the other side, the first is 3 things that you have learned, 2 things that you found interesting, and 1 question that you still have that you can write in the exit card. Yes, enough. Now go. See, here we are going to have a miniature volcano. This volcano you can make only if you burn the potassium dichromate. I'll take it. Potassium dichromate, if you burn, you are going to see a volcano like this. So now you can wash your test tubes and keep it back in the rack. Wash your test tubes. Yes, it will continue. Wash your test tubes and give me back the exit card. We are going to end the class. Just wash your test tubes, keep it back, give me back my exit card, and we are going to finish it. Thank you. Thank you. You can go now. I'll stop it here. Thank you, everyone. Okay.